I'm Carolyn, and this is Carolyn's Caregiving Connection. It's a weekly program from the Lantern of Chagrin Valley Assisted Living, just outside Cleveland, Ohio. Now, if you've joined me before, you know that the Lantern of Chagrin Valley is part of Lantern Lifestyle, and we have two other communities here in northeastern Ohio, Lantern of Madison and Lantern of Saybrook. Each of us offers a weekly program, and the programs are recorded. They're available to you on demand. You can view them on our Lantern Facebook pages, and now you can also view them on YouTube. So we hope you'll tune in. We also would encourage you, if you're following us on Facebook, please give us a like, please share, and certainly please comment. We do read your comments, we welcome your comments, we welcome your ideas for new topics, and we're glad to have you with us on this program. Now, this afternoon, I'm thrilled to have our guest with us, and his name is Bill Wynn.
Hi there.
Bill is the chef manager here at the Lantern of Chagrin Valley, so welcome, we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Now, Bill, I know that Morrison Living provides all of the dining and dietary services here at the Lantern. Tell us about that.
Okay, yeah, so we've been here for a little over a year and a half. Overall, it's been a very positive experience. The residents here have responded very well to everything that we've been doing, all the programs we've been implementing here. I've been with Morrison myself for a little over 4 years. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, and I've actually worked with Morrison, kind of unrelated, but within the same community. We had them as a management company for probably about 12 years. I was with that company before I moved on with Morrison, but what we try to do here, is give the residents the best experience possible, dining wise. And I have a really good crew here. I've been very satisfied, with my move out here. So.
Well, we're glad you did come to the Lantern of Chagrin Valley, for sure. So, as many of you may know, concerns about food are one of the top issues when people are looking at assisted living communities. Of course, they're looking for location, is it a nice clean environment, activities, but really one of the top issues for them is food, and it's actually one of the top complaints for folks who live in assisted living communities. We're so thrilled that we have the opposite experience here. Our food program, our whole dietary and dining services department here with Bill is one of our top compliments. So that's something that we're very proud of here at the Lantern of Chagrin Valley. And when I think about that, the dining experience, that's something maybe we haven't really thought of. We think of dietary, but what is the dining experience to you, Bill?
Sure. So the dining experience, for us here and for Morrison in general, it's very important to provide the residents here with a full experience that would include not only meal service times, but also different programs that we offer, different events that we might have. We've worked really well here with activities, with marketing, to make sure that we have events several times a month, and overall the residents have responded very positively to the events that we've had. I know that we've documented all of them on Facebook, so anybody that would be interested in looking to see what we've done in the past, feel free. All the pictures are there.
Absolutely.
But there's so many that I can't even really count, you know what I mean?
Well, I remember my first visit here was last year at Halloween when you had a fall harvest event.
Right.
And when I came through on Main Street and saw all the little desserts and the treats, it really looked like a candy shop. I thought I was in a store.
Right. Well,
so beautiful.
That was one of our best events that we had, in my opinion. They've all been great. I don't think there's been a single one that I would say hasn't measured up. But yeah, we had opened up to the community. We had, children come in from outside that were dressed up, and the residents really enjoyed that too. But on our end though, I know that we had one room dedicated to selling baked goods. It really benefited the activities department here. When we ourselves, the other events that we've had that have involved family members in the past they've all been successful, and we've had many compliments from family members, coming in from the outside.
Our Thanksgiving dinner it rivaled any hotel buffet, I can tell you that.
Oh, that's
for
appreciated,
sure.
yeah, it was, and the other thing is too, we try to kind of switch it up. I know for Christmas, we switched up the way that it was served. We really emphasize having family members come in. Granted now with COVID, it's a little bit difficult, but we hope soon that we can, get back to those types of events. So.
Well, I notice here that we have so many special touches that I don't see in all of the area assisted living communities. We have the fruit infused waters, and that's so refreshing.
Sure.
We have fresh fruit bowls. Fruit's expensive today,
Sure.
We have made from scratch soups. I know the residents just love those. And so when we're thinking of our home experience for those who are caregivers at home, aside from like flowers and napkins and getting out your china, what are some of the things that we can do in our own home to make that dining experience special? Is it maybe focus on one thing, like a soup or a salad?
I would say so. The one thing that we try to do here is use as many fresh ingredients as possible. I know that our produce company is great for providing us with all of the in-season local produce that they can. And I would say that I've worked in 3 other communities, 4 including this one, where, I would say that the Lantern here, we've probably used more produce items than any of the other facilities I've been in.
Okay.
And I've really tried to make it a point to go with as many fresh produce items as we can. Sometimes we do use frozen vegetables, but really we try to stick to the fresh stuff as much as possible. Which, by the way, that kind of brings me into my point about our standards that we have. We have culinary standards with Morrison, and I'll just read through them real quick. But I believe we posted them online at one point on Facebook, but we could do that again, just so everybody can see the list, know exactly what they are, So going down through them, we only use fresh fruit. Again, our produce company is great. Whatever fruit is in season, we try to get that here. Sometimes with price fluctuations and that type of thing, we have to stay away from certain fruits at certain times of the year, but I really do try to give a variety, no matter when it is. We use fresh seasonal vegetables when available. That plays into the same concept there.
And you even have a little garden here on one of the courtyards.
We do, and that's, as a side note, that was actually a project that we did last year, that we started last year, and that was something that Morrison didn't even really kind of direct me to put that together or help put it together, because it was activities and I that really spearheaded that. But I went home and thought to myself, well, let's get this thing started. I ended up building several planners that we're still using right now.
They're like table height, so they're perfect for people that need to be standing or in a wheelchair.
Sure. Yeah, we have a few that are towards the ground that are the perfect height for somebody to kind of work with, you know, their hands in the garden if they are in a wheelchair, or there is a standing height planner out there. I would say this year we're doing a little bit better with the garden than we did last year. I haven't been out there over the past week or so, but I did take a walk past, I think, last week, and things are looking a lot better than they did
good.
last year.
Well,
I think it comes with experience.
absolutely.
So
The interesting thing is that the garden is in our courtyard, so we don't have the rabbits coming in. They can't get to our
Exactly.
vegetables and
Yeah.
eat the fruits of our labor.
yeah,
so to speak.
that's the best part. I had a garden at home. You have deer coming in, you know, and it is good. It's perfect to have these courtyards
Absolutely.
out here. So moving on, we only use RBGH free milk and yogurt products. We only serve chicken and turkey raised without the use of human antibiotics. We use sustainable seafood per the Monterey Bay Aquarium seafood watch list. We only use pasteurized, cage-free shell eggs. We use fresh potatoes and real butter in our mashed potatoes.
That means a lot to me personally, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, that's a big deal for you know, this generation of folks. They mashed potatoes, you know.
That's it.
Yeah, and I've been told that mine are pretty good. But,
Absolutely.
so we serve pizza crust baked in house. We use only fat-free canned tuna. We roast and slice all meats in house. We only cook with healthy alternatives for oils. Sometimes we do have French fries, that kind of thing, but that goes along with comfort foods. You know, you still want to give, if you have a hamburger, you have a really nice hamburger, you want some nice
French
potato
fries.
wedges as
That's
well.
right.
We limit the use of artificial colorings and flavorings, and we make all of our sauces and soups from scratch in house. And just on a side note, as far as that's concerned, I've been told that our soups are very good here.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's something that not every community out there you can say that for, that they follow these particular culinary standards. But at Morrison, we, you know, at every facility that I've been in where Morrison has been involved, we really try to keep those standards high. You know, so I would say, especially here, we've had positive feedback. So.
Well, what impresses me is that these standards that you just reviewed with us, they make the cost a little bit higher. You know, we're not saving any pennies by having these higher standards in specialty foods, but that's one of the commitments that we're making. Many of the processed foods that we might see in some of the other communities, they have a lot of salt, and so many of us in this age group, speak for myself, have to watch our salt. Maybe we have a blood pressure issue, so and it doesn't make the food just taste better. Actually, what you've just described makes it better for us.
Absolutely, right, and that's another commitment that Morrison has, as far as, you know, we're very forward thinking. They always have been at Morrison. Again, in my experience, you know, as far as our programs that we try to implement are concerned, we really do try to incorporate as much fresh food from scratch items onto the menu as we possibly can. So.
And I would guess that for many of our residents that are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, that's what they had in their own homes. We didn't really have the processed foods that we have out there in the stores today back in the 30s and 40s.
Absolutely.
I would think.
Right.
You know. Now, you mentioned something, comfort food. What is comfort food, and why is it important to us?
So, comfort food, I'd say, you know, as far as, again, this generation, you know, you just spoke about how they're used to having those home cooked items. We focus on having those comfort foods available for them because it kind of brings them back to a point in their life where maybe things weren't as difficult. you know, and they can remember, you know, their mother or their grandmother baking cookies from scratch, or, you know, a meatloaf, for instance. You know, that's a big one here. But you know,
it stimulates our senses. I mean, really, the smell of a meatloaf, the texture,
sure,
may be reminiscent to the one my mother made, or someone else's
right.
experience.
And anyone with memory issues, dementia, Alzheimer's, that type of thing, it's very important to kind of stimulate the memories of the past. You know, it helps them to kind of you know, bring things back forward in their minds that maybe they had forgotten about. I know personally, I've seen a few times, and actually it's one of the highlights to doing this, or to being on this side of food service, is that I've seen a few times where a resident will eat something that we've made, and even though they may have Alzheimer's and have those issues, you can see the look on their face. It's like their face lights up, and they remember, you know.
And that has to make you and your whole team feel fantastic.
Sure, yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. And I know comfort foods, I think of when you mentioned mashed potatoes, that's a popular one.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't feel well, when we're stressed, maybe being in an environment like this for someone new is a little, you know, tenuous for them. So having foods that they enjoy, that homemade soups that you make, those are comfort foods. Your desserts are fabulous here, all those things.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel sorry for the young people growing up today in this generation that unfortunately their comfort food is probably going to be McDonald's or chicken nuggets or something.
Right. Well, it's funny is that, you know, all things come back around, and you're starting to see now, you know, with kind of the organic movement and that type of thing, that younger folks obviously are starting to pay attention a little bit more. I'd say starting with my generation, but it's kind of permeated its way from, you know, the hipster type generation, but it's starting to move its way through the rest of the generations, and now we're getting to the point, as I said before, Morrison is really forward thinking with how we you know, approach food and the standards that we have. So as far back as I can remember, we've always tried to incorporate those fresh ingredients and that type of thing to kind of, again, move away from the institutional style of cooking.
So when you're thinking ahead to the menu cycle and preparing your menus for the next few weeks or the next few months, do the residents get a little bit of input? Do they let you know what they'd like to see, or does it just come from you?
No, you know, what I like to do is kind of, and since I've been doing this for going on 14 years in this industry, I've kind of learned over time, you know, we have sort of what they call the meat and potato generation with these folks. So I've learned over that period of time what they enjoy eating. You know, so I've been able to take the menu that Morrison and Compass that they put out every spring and summer, and then into the fall and winter. You know, there's 2 menu cycles, and that's something that I really like too, is that we switch our menu cycles around, and there might be menu items on there that repeated from the last time, but ultimately they try to switch as many of those menu items between those cycles as possible.
So there's a lot of variety then.
Right. But getting back to having, you know, residents have input, we do have a resident council here. So, you know, anybody that attends those meetings can bring up any issues they might have, quality issues if they have any, which, you know, luckily there haven't been too many. But at that point too, they kind of bring up what they don't like, what they'd like to see more of. And I can tell you that personally, it's very important for me to get as many people satisfied with what they're eating coming from our kitchen as possible. So Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Other times I'll get a menu suggestion from one of the residents. I'm trying to think of an example. In fact, I think I do remember one. One of the residents told me that that they wanted to see radishes because we hadn't been putting radishes on our salad, and within 2 days I went ahead and thought, well, I'll go ahead and get them. I put it in the back of my mind and remembered to do it, and put it right on, 2 days later, and I even gave her a little bit extra,
right.
But she really appreciated the fact that we
listened
and took that opportunity to kind of make her day,
Well,
so.
I'm always amused when I'm in the dining room and I see that we have definitely the individuals here that love broccoli and they love Brussels sprouts. You wouldn't see that with the little ones today.
Right,
so
right.
Our residents really do love, like you said, the traditional foods.
Sure.
Speaking of which, what are some of the favorite menu items here at the Lantern of Chagrin Valley?
So we talked before about the fact that comfort food is very big here. So our meatloaf, I have my own secret recipe,
Okay.
that I've tested over the years, and I've dialed it in. But for the most part, I would say the comfort foods are very big with these folks. But believe it or not, sometimes they'll surprise me. We'll just as an example, today we had stir fry on. We've had it before, but that's one that the older generation isn't as familiar with. But what's funny is that every once in a while we'll put something like that on and I'll say, oh, I don't know how this is gonna go, but they'll, all of us, I have clear plates.
Right, well, Cleveland's a food city, so I guess they're joining in on that strategy. Now, I know myself that I see the residents really embracing the fact that we have so many homemade desserts. And that's not only part of their generation, but they taste so much better. So I think that's a plus for us here also.
Yeah, that's something that we really try to do, and we really try to branch out. We don't stay in the same line as, okay, well, let's put on a cake with icing or, something like that. We actually try to do the extra steps to make those desserts special. I always feel that even if somebody, their meal isn't necessarily something that they like, if you end on a high note with those desserts, you kind of, they sell themselves, and you almost knock it out of the park. If you can really give them something that they enjoy for dessert. So.
Well, we borrowed that from a bunch of moms in years past. They knew how to feed us when we were young.
Right.
Now, I know here at the Lantern we have something that you started, which is a salute to superfoods. And each month you focus on a different superfood. But what is a superfood, and what's the superfood this month?
Okay, so we actually today just had our superfood event, and it was melons. We do a superfood once a month, and they vary. Sometimes they're not very exciting, like our greens or lettuce, that type of thing, and then other times we have like dark chocolate, which is always a hit.
Big crowd that day.
Yeah, or berries, or the melons, for instance. But again, the superfood program was something that Morrison started probably, I believe 10 years ago, from what I can remember. And it's just another one of those programs that, again, we really try to give the residents something to look forward to throughout the month. But superfoods in particular are important because nutritionally, obviously, we're trying to use as many fresh items as possible, as I said before, but you want to get as many vitamins, minerals, that type of thing, as in the most natural way possible. You know, the biggest movement recently has been a lot of folks using supplements
Yes.
and that type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
which are fine, you know, to kind of get you past the point where you need to be. But as far as superfoods are concerned, you know, it's already there for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so a lot of the superfoods aren't cooked, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, you know, as far as your berries are concerned, that
Right.
type of thing. And, you know, you want to get as close to having raw foods in your diet as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, having superfoods incorporated is definitely one way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I will elaborate a little bit. You know, I'll give you another example about some of the programs that we try to implement throughout the month. At one point before COVID hit, we were going to start to do kind of a teaching kitchen where we brought residents in to get involved a little bit with understanding where their food was coming from, and also you know, getting their minds stimulated as well.
Absolutely.
You know, coming in, unfortunately with COVID, we've had to kind of dial that stuff back a little bit. You know, so hopefully we can revisit having something like that again. But
well, I know with the superfood program that you had even today, you know, we have such a focus here at the Lantern on hospitality and the dining experience. But I think that program goes more than us serving and making a wonderful dining experience. As you said, the residents can learn about their food.
Sure.
We want our residents to continue to learn and,
Sure.
and embrace their life here.
Absolutely.
So learning that, hey, I don't just like these melons, or I don't just like this other superfood, but here's why it's good for me, and now I know a little bit more, and I'm going to tell my grandchild, or I'm going to share it at a conversation with someone else. That's important.
Right,
Yeah,
right. And
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, just as an example, today when we were doing that presentation, there was a few residents there that you know, as I went through our little fact sheet about you know, melons, they were kind of like, oh well, they had a few questions, you know. So it's, you know, it's not only about giving them like, let's say, a snack during one of these superfood, which, you know, today we had a little bit of salsa. It was some mango and watermelon salsa, a little bit of cilantro in there, and then we had some strawberry and watermelon smoothies, perfect for right after lunch.
Absolutely. And on a hot day like today.
Right. But it's also food for thought. You know, that's, and I would say with a lot of the programs that Morrison tries to implement, we look at that as part of that full experience, that dining experience we were talking about before.
And I think, again, that's one of the things that sets us apart here at the Lantern of Chagrin Valley, but you won't necessarily see it in other communities in the area here. Now, a few weeks back on our program, we spoke about hydration and dehydration, and how we're coming into those hot summer days where dehydration puts us at risk. Puts us at risk for cognitive deficit, for you know, swelling in our legs, all kinds of issues. And so we have many programs here that help us with hydration. What are some of the things we do here? I like the fruit infused waters.
Sure. So you know, again, Compass and Morrison implemented a program, and this was like probably 10 years ago from what I can remember, called Catch the Wave. So that program was, I think, developed by dietitians because they were seeing the fact that in a lot of these facilities around the country, folks were experiencing a lot of dehydration. So they, as a way to try to figure out how we can solve that problem, you know, they figured, well, fruit infused water was a perfect way of doing it. So we have plenty of recipes that we use, believe it or not, you know, where we're infusing with not only fruit but also herbs.
Cucumbers. I've had cucumber water.
Sure, cucumber melon water. You know, using mint with melon. Also rosemary with citrus. You know, there's certain pairings that are actually pretty tasty.
And you mentioned
but-
even just the fruit-based, or excuse me, the fluid-based fruits that we have, and
Sure,
vegetables that have more of a water base, more of those kinds of things.
Yeah,
Soups, cold soups even.
Yeah, in fact, you know, the melons today, for instance,
Absolutely.
that was part of the whole presentation, was the fact that you know, melons themselves are usually made up of over, you know, could be 90% water, especially watermelon.
Right.
But you know, that's another way to stay hydrated. And I'd say probably the third way that we really try to focus on that is every afternoon we have kind of a little snack time on most afternoons. You know, sometimes it's a little bit like today, since we have the superfood event, it's a little bit different, but on almost every afternoon here, we, you know, during the snack passing time in the afternoon, they will also incorporate vitamin water. And I started putting those out about a year ago, the vitamin waters. You know, we get that from Nestle, I believe. But you know, they're tasty, they respond well. You know, the residents respond well to it. Sometimes with your fruit water, you know, that we put out, some of the residents, they're looking for a little bit of sweetness.
Yes.
And you know, juices become this dominating. Everybody wants juice. But what we tried to do with the with the vitamin water was kind of step away from the juice a little bit.
All that sugar.
Right, and the sugar is no good for hydration. You know, it actually will dehydrate you. So having those vitamin waters that still taste sweet, or a little bit sweet, you know, they're a perfect way to get that hydration that's needed.
Even just offering water as a beverage. We have water offered at every meal, it's at every place setting, along with any other beverage that someone might like. And just
absolutely.
offering it and reminding someone to drink may make a difference in them drinking enough fluid, you know, for that day.
Right.
So some of the things we've been talking about for hydration, we could do in our own house. We could make our own
Oh, absolutely.
fruit waters and things like that.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so is there anything else you'd like to share with us about your experiences here? And what's ahead for you in the dietary department?
Sure. So we're, you know, again, unfortunately with COVID, things have changed a little bit with the types of events that we can do. But it's actually been a little bit of a blessing in a way, because we've been able to focus more instead of focusing necessarily on having, you know, big events for families.
Yes.
We can kind of dial it down a little bit and focus on the residents themselves. And we've been going kind of door to door, sometimes with, you know, we'll have an ice cream, we called it, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was an ice cream social happy hour, where we went from room to room, and they really enjoyed.
Well, I know our activity department has terrific happy hours. They were in sumo suits and
Yeah.
all kinds of fun stuff
right.
for the residents to make it enjoyable, and also a social experience. And that's part of, I think, the value that we have in our dining experience. It creates opportunity for conversation, and food is one of those things that breaks down barriers. You know, most of us, when we invite someone to our home, we have that appetizer because it starts the conversation.
Right. And this, you know, something else I'd like to mention. Morrison is really big on, again, the forward-thinking aspect. You know, so once we get into a little bit more of the catering, and we do start opening up, you know, just this past year they started putting together some books here, some playbooks. One being a culinary playbook, the other being a catering playbook, for us to kind of take as a guide for what we do. You know, not really to follow necessarily to it. There are some things in here that we, you know, that we definitely follow. One being, I kind of like in here that they've put in this forward here, that we have a passion for creating memorable experiences through quality ingredients, culinary traditions and sustainable practices. And that's kind of the philosophy that we follow here as well. I try to implement that as much as possible, here at the Lantern. So
Well, you're certainly an example of that, I have to say, most definitely.
Nice. But it's nice to have, to be working for a company that believes and puts residents' interest as far as their dietary needs and also the enjoyment of their meals first. And I believe here at the Lantern, ever since I started working here, that we really tried to do that, and I believe that the staff here at the Lantern has also made that a priority as well. So.
Well, if that's old saying, food is love, is true. I think our residents feel very loved here with the food that we offer. So
Right.
thank you, and thank your entire team for all of that.
Sure.
I also want to say that when you open up that teaching kitchen, I'm sure my husband wants me to be first on the list. He thinks I need a few lessons.
Oh,
So
there you go.
I want a scholarship to that school for
right,
sure.
okay.
So I do want to thank you for being our guest here today, and I hope
Sure.
you'll come back another time.
Sure, I will.
Thank you.
Be happy to.
Well, for those of you that have been listening again this evening, we thank you for tuning in every week. Again, you can follow us live. You can follow us on demand on Facebook Live, as well as our new opportunities on YouTube. We want you to share these videos with others. We invite your comments, your suggestions, especially for new topics and even speakers. So if you're a professional and you have a service or you have a topic that you think would be of interest to our residents here and others who are in the audience, please give me a call. So again, I'm Carolyn. My direct phone number is 440-557-1104, 440-557-1104. So again, I thank you for tuning in. I look forward to having you as part of the audience next week on Thursday at 7 p.m. And until then, I send you my best for today and always. Thank you.